Broadcasting live from the studios of Fox Sports Radio.
Bang, bang, won't stop till we're legends.
Here's Doug Gottlieb.
But I want to start with beef in the NBA. Nothing is better than NBA basketball Twitter beef. So here's what happened yesterday. CJ McCollum has come on this show before. He's one of the young stars for the Portland Trail Blazers. When he came on, it was great. A friend of mine, a former teammate of mine, Antony Weiss, was his assistant coach at Lehigh. I've known CJ for a long time. I know him to be a great dude and a guy who eventually wants to get into the media. And like as you have, there are other NBA players who have their own. JJ Redick has a really good podcast. There are others as well. Guys like to kind of do their own thing. He wanted to promote his own podcast, and he did so coming on our show. His podcast is called Pull Up. He had Kevin Durant on it. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play for you part of the discussion, and then we'll take you through the Twitter beef that followed last night that everybody's talking about. Here's CJ McCollum and Kevin Durant, and here's a warning for you. They both appear to be eating while recording this podcast. Have I occasionally eaten or drank something on the air? Yes. But in the story behind the beef, I'll share with you. But one of the things I should also share is like, CJ, KD, when you record a podcast, can't be eating during it. Take a listen.
So what do you suggest?
I suggest you just keep playing, man, and don't worry about what goes on at the top of things.
We right there at the top of things. We was a third seed last year, bro. We was right there. We was just slightly below 1 and 2.
But how'd you play?
Some unfortunate situations happened in the first round.
How'd you play?
Some unfortunate circumstances.
Like an 8 seed.
Why am I mad about this?
I mean,
I'm in the Western Conference. I got to play you all the time anyway, as it is, over and over again. We done got eliminated by y'all a few times in the first round. So I'm looking at Cuz.
I mean, you know you guys aren't going to win a championship.
Bro, we have the team. We have capabilities. Anything is possible. We can win a championship.
All right. Having listened to the entire conversation, it wasn't as much about Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City and going to the Warriors as it was about DeMarcus Cousins signing as a free agent. And I thought Kevin Durant made a great point. He made a great point. He's like, look, he's a free agent. You guys could have signed him, but you don't want to sign him because you got Nurkic. McCollum said, well, we could have for $5.3 million. We could have had both of them. And he's like, no, you couldn't have. Like there's this widespread panic around the NBA over DeMarcus Cousins, who's a former All-Star, the reality of which he probably is not ready till February, maybe not till March. It eliminates half the teams in the West don't want to have him because they've either had him before or they're trying to be bad, and the teams are trying to be good. Many of them need him to play during the regular season, and other teams that don't need him, or other teams that do need him and wouldn't need him during the October, November, December, January, and February, they already have a big guy. Like the Nuggets don't need him. The Pelicans had him, didn't want him back. DeAndre Jordan is with the Dallas Mavericks. The Houston Rockets could have signed him, but they want Clint Capella. They're just negotiating with Clint Capella. Like other teams had this idea that DeMarcus Cousins somehow tips it so far in the scales of the Warriors. If he was so incredible, one, why didn't somebody run blocker, right? That's what the Yankees did acquiring Zach Britton. Did they need Zach Britton? No. Could they use him? Sure. But getting Zach Britton kept the Astros from getting him and the Red Sox from getting him. It's smart. No one did that in the West, keeping DeMarcus Cousins from him. Additionally, though, other teams just don't need him. So what happened was the podcast drops and suddenly CJ McCollum gets questioned about the move by Kevin Durant to go from Oklahoma City to the Warriors. And he uses an analogy it's analogous to a gang fight where a guy and his brother get jumped, lose the fight, and instead of getting tougher and getting better and beating up the guys who beat him up, he joins the gang that beat him up. Kevin Durant reads this, sends out his own tweet and says, wait, so in this analogy, I'm in 2 months with my brother, and then I leave my brother only to beat up my brother? Calls him a snake in the grass, and then, of course, has a smile about it all on Twitter. This becomes Twitter beef. But I think people are really missing what's at the heart of this. You want to know what it is? One of the hardest things you're going to do if you're going to host a podcast, you're going to host a radio show, you're going to host a TV show, is not only give your opinion, but sometimes you're going to have to give a negative opinion. And when you give that negative opinion, occasionally that person you gave a negative opinion about, you're going to have to cover or you're going to have to interview. And if you don't have that stuff in you, if you're not willing to step foot in the locker room or to have that conversation, then you might not be cut out for the opinion business. It's okay. It's not for everybody. Think about this for a second. On Twitter, CJ McCollum said, I thought the move was kind of soft. Right? That's Kevin Durant leaving the Thunder to go to the Warriors. That's a word that has been used by Stephen A. Smith, been used by others. It's obviously kind of part of the narrative in the NBA because NBA guys are a lot like you and me in that, have you ever noticed everyone who grows up, no one grew up with money. Everyone grew up poor. And it becomes topper to just how poor and how bad their life was when they were younger. It's not that some people didn't grow up poor, but everybody grew up poor. That seems impossible. Oh, you think you had it bad? We had no shoes. When you had no shoes, we had to walk on our hands. We had to walk on our elbows, right? That's how it is in the NBA. Everybody wants to be tough. Everybody wants to have started with nothing. You know, it's the old Drake, started from the bottom, now we're here. You want to start with nothing and then somehow build organically within. And that's the only way to show real toughness. It's not that CJ McCollum can't have the opinion that Kevin Durant's move from Oklahoma City to Oakland and the Golden State Warriors, who had won a championship, then won 73 games and lost in the NBA Finals, isn't soft. He is, especially as an NBA player and a really good one, he has the right to have that opinion. The problem with it is he didn't have that opinion when Kevin Durant was recording a podcast with him. Right? That is Twitter Tough Guy 101. That is the hardest part about the opinion business in broadcasting. Is, hey, dude, you can call whoever you want out. But when you interview them, you have to find a way to work that into the conversation because you damn well better be sure that they know what you said. And in this case, it's even worse because he said it after the point. I'm not just on Kevin Durant's team because if you listen to Kevin Durant, there's a matter-of-fact way in which he said, you guys, you didn't really have a chance to win a championship. You know that. And he said, why would you let any of our acquisitions, our team, bother you? Why does that affect you? He actually made some really good points. And he did point out that you guys could have had DeMarcus Cousins. You didn't offer him, and you probably don't need him because you have Nurkic. But the best point that was made is, I just did your podcast. You never brought up the fact that you thought I was soft for leaving the Thunder, and now you're going to bring it up on Twitter right after we record the podcast? That is the softest, weakest of the broadcasting genre. It just is. So Rich Kleiman, through Jordan Schultz, who covers the NBA for Yahoo Sports, said there's no beef. They are friends. I do think they're friends. But I also I know that if there is a beef, it's just this with Kevin Durant. Hey, look, we're friends. I agree to come on your podcast. We can talk about anything. But talking about anything means if you think my move from Oakland to from Oklahoma City to Oakland was soft, you got to say that when we're face to face. You got to give me a chance to have a rightful retort. Not to Big Cat on Twitter. That ain't fair. That ain't right. That's not how anybody would like to roll.